You're here because you want to look amazing, look your best, you want to feel amazing with incredible energy, incredible joy and positivity and energy for life. And you want to perform at your best. You want to be energetic and strong, have great endurance, to be a kick butt version of yourself, whether that's in sports, in combat, in life, as a spouse, as a parent. You want to be living and performing at your best. So, what role does processed food have in either hurting you or helping you in your journey to achieve those things? In this episode of the podcast, I'm going to outline first what processed food is and how it may be holding you back. In fact, in this episode, you may learn some of the key roadblocks that are keeping you from achieving your absolute best body, best life, because it's possible some of these things are the key ingredient that are holding you back in your journey. Maybe you're already doing everything right, but maybe this is your one roadblock. This might be your breakthrough moment. Tune in and take notes in this episode of the podcast.
Welcome to the CrossFit Edwardsville Community Podcast, where we hear and learn from our coaches, CrossFitters, and Glen Ed community leaders. Now, here are your hosts, Dallas and Greg.
What is up, guys? It's Coach G, one of the coaching team here at CrossFit Edwardsville, Doctor of Physical Therapy, and 2 decades into my health and fitness and coaching, health, life, fitness, nutrition, coaching journey. And in this episode of the podcast, I'm going to talk about a topic that is near and dear to my heart because I'm a big believer that God has given us amazing, delicious, healthy foods that we can enjoy so that healthy eating doesn't have to suck, but is also the world that we live in. There are so many obstacles. There are so many roadblocks, so many chemical traps that a lot of the food companies of America are producing, and processed foods are a big, big part of that. And processed foods are one of those things that a lot of people, I think, you hear those terms and you're aware it sounds bad on paper. The idea of processed foods sounds bad. So you probably have an appreciation for this might be a thing to avoid, but a lot of people don't necessarily understand or know really what it means for food to be processed or how it could potentially be negatively impacting the results that you're getting, or might be holding you back in your healthy living journey, your journey to become your best self. So I want to demystify and outline what you need to know in this episode of the podcast. So to begin, I need to define what processed foods even are. And globally, processed foods include any food that is altered from its natural state through various methods, some of which are not harmful to you, some of which could be tremendously harmful to you. But just to give you an idea, your canning, freezing, refrigeration, dehydration, adding ingredients to preserve flavor, texture, shelf life. This category, processed foods, includes a wide range of items from the minimally processed stuff like your pre-cut vegetables to heavily processed stuff like your sugary snacks, your ready-to-eat meals, the microwavable meals. And so let's begin this conversation by outlining types of processed foods, because identifying these categories is going to be really important in this conversation. So let's begin by discussing minimally processed foods. This includes stuff that's slightly altered for convenience, like your washed and packaged fruits and vegetables. I think all of us can intuitively appreciate that these minimally processed things are probably not harmful. Going to item number 2, processed culinary ingredients. This stuff like your oils, your butter, your sugar, your salt that are extracted and purified and pulled from whole foods, essentially they're derivatives of whole foods. These are what we call processed culinary ingredients. And so it's a second category of processed foods. Now we're going to continue to work our way up the ladder of potentially problematic things. Then we get into just generally processed foods as category number 3. That includes stuff that's been processed for safety and convenience. This includes your canned vegetables, fruits, legumes, and now where it becomes problematic, breads and cheeses. This is where we start to see a lot of folks really hit hiccups in their journey to cut body fat or have sustained lasting energy instead of energy peaks and valleys. That's category 3, processed foods. Then we go into the true trouble territory, your ultra processed foods. These are your foods that are heavily altered with numerous additives like artificial flavors, preservatives, sweeteners, emulsifiers, or colorings. And if, by the way, you have no idea what I just said, this category here is where problems really tend to emerge for people who are trying to live a healthy journey. Examples of your ultra processed foods include fast food, sugary drinks, packaged snacks, instant noodles, stuff like that are the ultra processed foods, and that's where things really become problematic. But let me not just say it's problematic. Let me give you an outline of what health problems come along with these ultra processed, highly processed foods. What's the problem with them? Let's start here. So first, they tend to be very high in unhealthy ingredients, your added sugars, some of the controversial stuff like unhealthy fats, like your trans fats, for example, and to a lesser extent, sodium. These ingredients can potentially contribute to various health issues like your obesity, your heart disease, your hypertension, diabetes. Sugar in particular, this is data driven right here. Excess sugar is linked to weight gain, insulin resistance, and increased risk of type 2 diabetes. I think we've all come to appreciate and know sugar is definitely a part of the problem if you're trying to live your best life. Then we get to the trans fats type stuff. These have been linked to raising your LDL cholesterol, and that can overall increase your risk of heart disease. Sodium, very, very individually specific, but high sodium intake for some people can lead to hypertension through higher water retention in the blood, increased risk of stroke and heart disease thereby for some people. Not for everybody, but for some people. So that's category number 1, is being high in potentially unhealthy ingredients, namely the sugar that seems to be ubiquitous in all the packaged processed stuff that lives in the middle aisles, where everything has a long shelf life and never ever seems to degrade or die. Let's go to the second big problem with processed foods. That's that they just don't have a whole lot of nutrients in them. To put it another way, they are low in nutrient density. What do I mean? Lack of dietary fiber. That can affect your digestive health, contribute to conditions like constipation and diverticulosis. That can be a problem. Vitamins and minerals tend to be absent in these ultra-processed foods. You'll have deficiencies in essential nutrients that can impair your various bodily functions and increase the risk of chronic diseases. This is the second reason, the low nutrient density, a very big problem. You're consuming calories and getting little to nothing back in exchange for it. This is one of the biggest problems with ultra-processed foods. Let's go to problem number 3, additives and preservatives. Well, additives and preservatives can help extend shelf life. And if you're using some additives at home with your at-home canning process, I commend you. I'll never hold that against you. If, however, your food is coming from some factory which is using a ton of chemicals to extend shelf life and make the cookies last for literally decades, while that extends shelf life and gives a lot of taste, a lot of short-term culinary gustatory high, it also has all these negative health effects. Artificial additives like artificial sweeteners or colorings have been linked with behavioral issues and other health concerns. Preservatives may contribute to health issues like allergies, asthma, and other hypersensitivities. And there's a lot of good data that suggests that people in today's world, our kids, the current generation, has way more allergies, a higher incidence of asthma, other hypersensitivities associated with this constant consumption of highly processed bullshit, not food, pretend food, imaginary food. So, point number 3, additives and preservatives. Point number 4, and this is a big one. These ultra-processed foods can have a really negative impact on your metabolism and your gut health, which can lead to an increased risk of metabolic syndrome and other health issues. By the way, like metabolic health, ultra-processed foods are often high in calories, low in nutrients, as I mentioned before, but this impacts and disrupts your normal metabolic processes in the body. That impedance, that disruption of your healthy body functioning is one of the things that contributes to retention of body fat and an overall, over time, increase in your risk of obesity. And part of the reason why it can be really hard to cut body fat. Processed foods contribute to body fat, contribute to keeping it on and make it harder and harder to take it off. Related to that, your gut microbiota, microbiota, gut microbiota, a diet high in these very processed foods can alter the composition of your gut bacteria, which is linked to various health issues like inflammatory diseases and poor immune function. All of these things together, like high in unhealthy ingredients, low nutrient density, additives and preservatives, and the some negative effect of these things on your metabolism and your gut health can all be a big part of the bigger picture that is hurting your journey, hurting your process, hurting your progress in your healthy living. So let's kind of wrap up this conversation in a little bow and bring it home. So the widespread consumption of processed foods poses health risks to you, the CrossFitter, to you, the everyday person, because of their high concentration of empty calories, low nutritional value, additives, and all these other harmful things that screw up your metabolic efficiency. To mitigate the risk of this damage to you, it is advisable that you limit, or even better, completely eliminate the intake of ultra-processed foods and instead bias yourself and enjoy the rich panorama of whole, minimally processed foods that are available to all of us in the produce section of our grocer. This shift can help you to improve your overall health, reduce the risk of chronic diseases, promote better long-term being, help you cut body fat so that you look amazing, feel amazing all day, perform at your best, recover from your workouts faster, have great energy to go out there and live an active, vibrant, energetic life on your terms. And I hope that you do. If this conversation has been helpful to you, leave a like, comment down below a response or your thoughts on the topic. We'd love to hear from you guys. We'll have a conversation with you down below in the comments section. Feel free to share this with somebody who is on their healthy living journey and maybe is hitting a sticking point. And if you need to, you can reach out to us. We are available at CrossFitEdwardsville.com, and we're on all the socials. So reach out to us if you'd like to have a conversation with one of our coaches about what your healthy living journey looks like. For now, I thank you for the gift of your time and your attention, and we'll see you guys in the next episode of the podcast.